Welcome back to Open Line. We are talking with Councilman at Large Jim Schulman. We're talking about the emotional issue of short-term rentals, Airbnbs, neighborhoods. Happy to have you with us. Glad you're commenting on Facebook. There's a comment here from Greg Garner about hotels. They don't want these Airbnbs. As you've tried to work out, iron out these differences, what sort of feedback have you gotten from big industry like hotels?
So at this point, I think hotels are okay with what's going on. They haven't been really at the table as much in terms of being a part of the conversation, but we haven't heard a lot saying don't let this happen. Now, part of that is that because everybody wants tourists to come to Nashville, and because we don't have enough hotel rooms and they're very expensive, this provides a lot more room for people to come, particularly who can't afford to go to the hotel rooms. Now, ask me again in about 3 or 4 years when we have plenty of hotel rooms, and then that may be a whole nother issue. But right now it seems to be okay. Do
you think this could take care of itself as we get more hotel rooms? Do you see this not being such a divisive, emotional issue?
Well, I don't know if it'll ever not be a divisive issue. I mean, again, neighborhoods locked into, this is neighbors, no businesses, you shouldn't have those. And then people who have them going, wait a minute, I can do what I want to with my property. But, Nashville ran into this problem with all these tourists coming in, and a lot of people couldn't afford to come because the room rates were so high. And so here comes this new thing called Airbnb and HomeAway and the other groups that are out there, and all of a sudden it was cheaper to do it that way. When my daughter said a couple of years ago, why don't you look at Airbnb? It's like, and I don't own one. I'm just telling you, I don't do that. But it's like, what are you talking about? What is that? It's this whole new thing.
Yeah.
And it just took off, and now we're trying to catch back up and deal with it.
Let's go to Woody. Hello, Woody.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, I was trying to do an Airbnb on a property that I've owned for 43 years. Let me turn the TV down because I'm getting too different. Okay. When I bought this property 43 years ago, there was a second house on the property. It's been here for 50 years. My mother and father-in-law lived in it till they passed away. I've been renting it for the last 25 years, but since Airbnb come in, I could make considerable more money on it than just outright renting. And I was at Codes this morning, actually, and they rejected me because I don't live in the house. I live on the property. There's two houses. I live in the house in the front of the property. This other house is like at the end of my driveway, which is a double driveway, plenty of parking. It bothers nobody. It bothers no neighbors. It's isolated from, there's not a house on either side of this little house in the back. There's the other house behind it is another block away. So here I am up in the front house. I'd like to retire. I'm 79 years old, and I can understand where they putting people in their house.
Right.
All kind of parking issues. I understand that. I understand people buying it from out of state in Airbnb property if they don't live in it. I understand all that. But when I've had this property for 43 years, and it's a separate house, and they're requiring me to go down there and live in that house to be able to do Airbnb on it. Well, I live on the property.
Okay, let's talk about that. So here's somebody trying to get a permit.
Yeah, I know what's happening. There is a 3% cap in census tracts right now, but I'm guessing that he probably lives in an area where they may not have hit that cap. I think what he's running into is the bill 608, which again is the first one, the one that says we're going to grandfather these out in residential areas. Once it got filed and got through the Planning Commission for Nashville, we have something known as pending legislation, the pending legislation document or doctrine. And what it simply means is because it may pass, we're gonna hold to that standard in the bill until we figure out what happens to it from the council. So right now they're not issuing non-owner occupied permits. Okay, so if he went down there to get a non-owner occupied permit, which I think is what he was looking for, because he lives in one house, he wants to do the other one, he can't get one right now because of the pending legislative doctrine, which basically says until this matter gets resolved, we're not issuing those things.
Now, when I think of non-owner occupied, I think of somebody maybe who lives in a different part of town or even out of state or whatever. He's saying, I live on the property, but that would still fit the bill as a...
I think, this is kind of a unique situation. Almost
unique,
like to go back to codes and make sure. But again, I think they would treat it as a non-owner occupied because he's not living in that house. It's on the property, but it's a house that is not, he's not in it. He's in another house. Non-owner occupied, again, pending legislation, they're not going to issue the permits.
So you've been given this very difficult task, been appointed to this ad hoc committee. We hear from all sides here on Facebook. You have a bill that you're proposing. How confident are you that that will pass? And I guess where are we in the whole process of that moving forward?
You know, this is very, it's a very touchy subject. There was an effort, 608 actually showed up for a final vote on third hearing. I moved to defer so I could get all the bills at the same time so we could have the committee bill also be reviewed. My effort to defer that, this was a couple of meetings ago, was tabled 19 to 18. There was more discussion, and then somebody else moved to defer. That attempted to be tabled, and the motion to defer this time passed 19 to 18. This shows you how close this is. Mm-hmm. I don't know what's going to happen. I know that the ad hoc committee bill is up in front of the Planning Commission a week from tomorrow night. People should come and talk about it. Brett Withers' bill, the grandfather-in bill, is also on the Planning Commission's agenda. And then what we tried to do is get all the bills showing up at the same time. They'll come in front of the Metro Council the first Tuesday in January, which I think is January the 2nd, on public hearing. People can come and say what they want to at that point. If the bills get through second reading, then all three bills are going to be on the second meeting in January. We'll hear them all at the same time.
Second meeting in January.
Second meeting in January. The only thing that I would really encourage, I know that people are upset on both sides of this. They have very strong opinions, and I very much appreciate it. But really, I'm a big believer in civil discourse. You know, you want people to talk to each other and not just, we can have discussions on this. We can keep talking. I know it's a difficult issue. I know people have very strong feelings, but we're Nashville. We can figure this out. We just have to kind of work together.
And civil discourse. Okay, we'll take a break. Be back. Wrap everything up right after this.